Hello everyone, welcome to a new video. Today we are going to have a slightly different TBR hopefuls video in the fact that all the footage that I took before setting this all up, pulling out the prompts, unfortunately it's corrupted, so I have had to do it a little bit differently as I don't have enough time to refilm it and get everything set up for it. So if you're new here, hello, my name is Shao. Every month I hold some sort of TBR game for myself, and normally it is the TBR jar, which I have been using for the entire year, except for the last 2 months I've been taking part in a couple of readathons. And so the rules are that every month I normally draw 6 prompts, and I have to try and fulfill those prompts with a book. If I do not finish fulfilling those prompts, I then have to take a punishment the month after and pull a 7th prompt. That happened this month because in August I didn't complete my prompts. I had 2 remaining, so I have picked up 7 books this month and I will be sharing them all with you now. I am very excited for this month. Last month was a great reading month for me, and you'll get to hear more about that in my wrap-up, which will be coming at the end of this week. But for the sake of following through on what we read and the star ratings I gave them over the month of October, let's really quickly look at what I did for the bookish spookathon. Okay, so there were 8 prompts that I had to fulfill. Each one covered a movie. You can check out what that was all about in my last month's video. It will be in the description below. However, the first book I read was The King of Fairy by A.J. Lancaster, and that was for family bonds, and I gave that 5 stars. The next book is This Vicious Grace by Emily Thede, and I read that for a curse, and I also gave that 5 stars. And another 5-star read was The Ballad of Never After by Stephanie Garber, and that was covering morally grey characters. For Magical Family, I chose to read House of Many Ways by Diana Wynne Jones, and that was a 2-star read. I didn't enjoy it, unfortunately. And for Shifters and or Coming of Age by I read Dark Knight Golden Dawn by Alison Carr. I think it's 𝓬𝓲𝓷. I hope I'm saying that right. And I gave that 4 stars. For vampires, I chose When Life Gives You Vampires by Gloria Duke, and it was a 3.5-star read for me. And The Undertaking of Heart and Mercy by Megan Bannon was for small town setting, and I just finished this one and it was a 5-star read. Really enjoyed it. And the final book was All of Us Villains by Amanda Foody and Christine Lynn Herman, and I read that for a group of friends and I gave that 4.5 stars. So overall, the Bookish Spookathon prompts were mostly great books to read. To what I want to hopefully read over November, and first with the TBR game, we're going to start with Gods, which was my first prompt, and I'm going to read Lore Olympus by Rachel Smythe, the volume 2, and I'm so excited to get to this. I really enjoyed volume 1, and I've put off from trying to read the webtoon because I wanted to read it in book format because I love the illustrations and just the feel that you get while reading this book, and I'm hopeful it'll be just as good as the first one was for me. Next up is fantasy, and I've chosen Kingdom of Ash by Sarah J. Maas. It is the final book in the Throne of Glass series, and if you haven't been following, I've been reading the entire series as a buddy read / read along on Instagram with a good friend of mine. We hosted it, and I'm so excited that we're on the final book, but it feels a bit bittersweet as well. Unfortunately, the last read in the series didn't sit well with me, so I'm hoping that this final book will go really well. I've got a lot of questions that I want answered, and I'm looking forward to reading it, although it is 980 pages long and it will be the longest book I've read this year. Then we have Time of Day, and I'm reading Defend the Dawn by 𝓤𝓲𝓭 𝓬𝓮. If you're not aware, this has been one of my most anticipated reads of 2022. I absolutely loved Defy the Night last year. It was an easy 5-star read for me, and I have been anticipating this book for the longest time. I cannot wait to return to Tessa and Korok's world and see where we are going to head next. Last time where we left off, the curse or the sort of plague that was on the land in this book was hopefully going to be maintained, but they needed a better answer for a long-term solution, and I think that's what this book will be looking towards doing. It's definitely one of my favorite sort of worlds, even though I don't normally read books about plagues and stuff like that. It was just really well written, and I cannot wait to follow and see what happens next. We have opulent cover for the next prompt, and I am reading an e-arc that I have of The Heart of the Sun Warrior by 𝓤𝓲𝓭𝓮. This is the second book in the Celestial Kingdom duology, and I read the first book earlier in the year. I really enjoy the poetic prose of this world and this writer. It's so well done. It follows along with the Chinese legend about the moon goddess Chang'e, and I'm just super excited to see where this is going to go, and I'm so glad that I got an e-arc of it. A lot of the books that are on this list this month are e-arcs because I need to get through them, so this is one that's coming out very soon and I cannot wait to read it. The next prompt was the, of, and it had to have one of those in the title, and I've gone with The Do-Over by Lynn Painter. This is another book that's coming out very soon in November, and it is a Groundhog's Day kind of time travel-y situation in a romance. Earlier in the year I read a book with a similar synopsis, and I absolutely loved it. It was See You Yesterday by Rachel Lynn Solomon, and that is the main reason why I picked this one up. I'm really excited to see what this author will do with this kind of theme, and I'm super excited for this one. I don't know much about this author, but I've really wanted to read it for the longest time, so now's the time. If you've been following along, this book has been on my TBR so many times this year, it's not funny. I didn't complete this one in August, so I've brought it through to this month. When sci-fi came out as a prompt, I knew exactly what I had to read. It's telling me I have to read this book before the end of the year. This is the first book in the Origins series, which is the sequel series to Lux by Jennifer L. Armentrout. I absolutely loved this alien what is it, YA series. Whenever I first started reading again, it was what actually got me back into reading, and I've been putting off reading Origin for the longest time. Luke is one of my favourite characters in the Lux series, and now that he has his own series, I'm super excited for him, but it's an uncompleted series, and with the way that I consumed Lux, I've been holding off to not do the same with Origin and then have to wait for book 4 because there's no announced date for that. We do know it's coming, but we just don't know when, and so I've been really hesitant to pick it up even though I really want to read it. So now's the time, and we'll just have to try and pace the other 2 books that are already out until The Fevered Winter comes out next year. And the final prompt is romance, and I'm going to be reading All I Want for Christmas by Maggie Knox. This sounds really cute, and it's about time I start reading some festive stories. If you don't know, I absolutely love Christmas stories, and I've written so many of them myself, and I love consuming them. It's just so sweet and wholesome and like a warm hug. Even though for me, where I live, Christmas is in summer, I always enjoy this time of the year, even though it gives me major FOMO that I don't get to enjoy a cold Christmas. Either way, I'm really excited for this book. I think it's following along with a contest between 2 singers, and because they have such great chemistry on stage, they end up having to work together, and they are sort of like fake dating, which is one of my favorite tropes. So I'm so here for it. Christmas, fake dating, let's go. So now I have 4 more books to share, and the first is The Bridge Kingdom by Danielle Jensen. I'm going to be reading this with a friend of mine. We've been wanting to read it equally. so much throughout the year, and we decided that we'd read it together. So it is a private buddy read that I'm going to be doing with my friend, and I'm super excited. I actually don't know too much about the world and the synopsis. I'm going to go in blind. I don't want to check now either. So hopefully it'll be a great read. We're going to do it later in the month of November, and I'll let you know how it goes. Another book like The Darkest Star, Book of Night, has been on my TBR for the longest time, and I just keep transferring it month after month after month. I ran out of time over October to pick it up, but it's definitely one that I'm going to pick up over November. I know I keep saying that. Please hold me to it though. If I haven't finished the Book of Night by the end of November, you have full permission to come for me, but it is a book that I've wanted to read for the longest time. I got to read the first three chapters as an excerpt from the publisher when they were hyping it up, and I was really interested in what I read, so I want to continue it on. If you don't know about it, it's a world where your shadow can be manipulated, brought from you, taken from you, changed in so many different ways, and there's also a murder mystery. It's really dark sounding, not normally my type of thing, but I love Holly Black, so I'm going to give this one a go, and hopefully I'll enjoy it as much as I have her other books that I've read. Last year when Gilded by Marissa Meyer came out, I read it with a bunch of friends, and I loved it so much. It's one of my favourite Rumpelstiltskin retellings ever. It's so good, and I have been waiting for Cursed for the longest time. It is not going to be out until the 15th of November here in New Zealand, which is a shame because it comes out earlier in the month for everywhere else. But as soon as I get my hands on a copy of this, I'm hopefully going to be reading with my friends again. At least one of them I know is definitely going to read it with me. And so I'm so excited to follow along and figure out where we go from next in the storyline. It's such a dark, enchanting world though, and Marissa Meyer has done such a good job with it. I cannot wait to step back into this world and see where everyone is going to end up and just enjoy the characters once again. It's just one of those books that you don't think much of when you've not been thinking about it, but when you start thinking about it, you think about all the theories and what could happen, and it could go on for a long time. I could talk about this book for the longest time. Or should I say the first book. So I'm hopeful that the second book is going to be just as good as the first. And an impromptu book that's been put on the list for the month of November. I normally only have 10, but if Curse doesn't come in, I still want to try and aim for 10. And I have this book on my TBR for this week, and it is All of Our Demise by Amanda Foody and Christine Lynn Herman. If you watched earlier in the video, you would have seen their first book in this series was a 4.5 read for me, 4.5 star, sorry, and I absolutely loved it. This is not my typical read at all, and for the first 100 pages of All of Us Villains, I really struggled, but once I was actually invested in it, I loved it so much. I have the strongest feels for Alistair. He's just so amazing. I love him so much, and I had to go out the very next day after finishing that book and pick up book 2 from the store. And I did have to finish reading one more book in between, but now that that's finished, I'm going to pick this up and devour it. I'm so excited for this book. If you got to the end of this video, thank you so much for stopping by and spending some time with me. I'm sorry that it's not a properly filmed video. Like I said, that footage was corrupted and I couldn't fix it. So this is the next best thing. I'm so excited for November, and I cannot wait to share my monthly wrap up for October with you all. That'll be coming very soon. Thank you again so much for spending some time, and I hope you're all well. Bye everyone.